Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? One at a time, and at Cowboy Stadium, and on Netflix. Yeah, that's about it.
Woo! Netflix. One of those things you said was very exciting, Casey. The other two, mileage may vary, as frankly is how I'm feeling as we head into the biggest fight weekend of the year, ladies and gentlemen, because it is almost upon us. That is right. It is Thursday, and tomorrow at Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium, Jake Paul will be boxing Mike Tyson. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The festivities will be going on all weekend. And so as a result of that, you're getting two preview shows, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, I'm Jed Meshew of MMAfighting.com. See the name. It's a great website. And joining me today as we do a preview show for Paul Tyson. Got another one coming tomorrow, but for Paul Tyson preview show, the man, the myth, the voice of the MMA Fighting Network, Mr. Mike Tyson.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday to us all. Oh, this isn't BTL. Oh, yeah, we did BTL Tuesday. It's been a week, everybody, and I don't know if excited
it's
to talk
only
about
Thursday.
This fight. Yeah, I don't know if excited about talking about this fight in this card. I mean, there are some things about this card that I truly like, but you know what? We're going to stay positive. We're going to have some fun, and let's talk some boxing, Jed Meshew.
Truer words have never been spoken. It has been quite a week, and we are not even halfway through at this point. But I am excited to talk about this card because, honestly, Mike, it's a big deal. It is and I obviously knew this would be a big deal. This is the first live combat sporting event taking place on Netflix. But I want to start as we get into the discussion of this event on Friday. And certainly we'll do questions at the end. So obviously a lot of other stuff has happened, particularly relating to John Jones. If you guys have questions about that, pop them in. We'll get to those at the end. But Mike, I do want to start with the biggest surprise of this week for me has been how broad this event has spanned. And we talk about the mom test, you and I, when people outside of the combat sport bubble, the MMA bubble, hit us up about a fight. Conor McGregor always has a mom test passing. This is maybe the single biggest event of my life other than Mayweather McGregor that has had people from all walks of life hit me up about it. People I haven't talked to in years, but who know what I do for a living, have texted me about this fight. And so, Mike, let's start right there. Are you getting the same sort of reaction from your non-combat sports people? Because I am honestly surprised by how pervasive it has been, the volume of people who have hit me up about this.
This is going to be the most watched fight of all time. Like, without question, it is going to be the most watched fight ever. And people hear that and think I might be crazy, because I've said this to other people and they thought I was crazy. I was like, you're telling me about it. You've never mentioned fighting to me ever. And all of a sudden we're talking about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. I have had men, women, 20-somethings, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, even 50 and 60-somethings hit me up in some way, shape, or form about this fight. I have had people that I haven't talked to in 2 decades hit me up on DMs on Instagram or Facebook asking me about this fight. I've gotten differing opinions about it. I've gotten, who do you think is going to win? Should I bet on? Mike Tyson's going to kill Jake Paul, isn't he? And then I have to talk people off the ledge. I've never been hit up more about a fight ever. And I would say, like, most of the fights that I've ever been hit up about, like top 3 are probably all Jake Paul fights, if we're being honest. Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley, Jake Paul, Nate Diaz is a big one. And then this one is right at the top of the list. So when people who have been asking me, like, what's the bigger deal? What's getting more attention? Is it UFC 309 and John Jones, or is it this fight? I've been telling people this fight's going to be 100 times bigger than UFC 309. Now that we're midweek and mid conversations with so many different people, this is like 200 times bigger than UFC 309. I'm actually blown away, and I think tomorrow's going to be even crazier.
Yeah, man. Like when this was first announced, I think we were all on the same page. Obviously, this will be a big deal. Mike Tyson still a big name. Jake Paul, very, very famous. And the Netflix thing made me be like, wow, this, we all stood up and took notice because of the Netflix part of it. I think even then I underestimated how much that part of it is and the allure of Mike Tyson still is. Because I remember a couple months back, we were sort of talking about this sort of ephemerally, and I was like, this might be I had a take that this might be the most viewed fight of all time. But then I wanted to be cautious with that because obviously boxing previously was the sport, the biggest sport to view. And so you go back to previous generations where there's a lot less things to watch in general, maybe just like half the world population tuned in for a fight. The more this has happened this week, I am very certain that you are correct when you say this will be the most viewed live fight of all time because it is astonishing the broad reach that Netflix brings to this, that Netflix has promoted behind this. If you tune into Netflix, like if you log on to Netflix, there is the Jake Paul docu-series or whatever, the Paul Tyson, series that they have going on for this. They have the This Is Coming Soon, this Friday, etc. And then the Mike Tyson of it all puts this in a bow that brings it into genuinely mainstream levels of interest. And Mike, you touched on a piece of this that is the other part that I have found fascinating, as truly people I have not talked to in years have hit me up about this with like thoughts. And a broadly a very, I won't say universal, but a large portion of these people hitting me up are saying something that I frankly never anticipated them to be saying. And credit to Jake Paul for this, because this means he knew what he was doing. A ton of people think Mike Tyson is about to kill Jake Paul. Are you also getting that vibe? Because the overwhelming majority of people I've talked to are either, is Tyson going to kill Jake Paul, or like, he's going to kill. It is all framed in the Tyson will kill Paul. Are you feeling that too? Because it is a shocking dichotomy of people in the fight world versus my other friends and how they see this playing out.
So I've got most of like, oh, so Tyson's just going to kill this kid. But for the most part, like a lot of them are like almost secondhand conversations where someone like at the gym or something will mention this fight to me, and I'll be like, yeah, it's kind of icky. Like Jake's gonna go out there, and if they actually fight, like he's just gonna knock this 58-year-old guy out, and it's not gonna be fun to watch. It's gonna be a sad ending. And then these people be like, well, all my friends are saying like Tyson's just gonna go in there and kill him. So I just basically said, I'll just ask Mike, because he's the one that watches all this stuff all the time. And yeah, it's kind of funny. It's obviously not the same. The only other fight that I can remember where I'm getting just these crazy takes is Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. When so many people would tell me like Conor McGregor is going to kill Floyd Mayweather. Like he's a UFC fighter. And I'm like, no, he's not. This is boxing. Like he's going to get outboxed. Oh no, he's never fought it. Floyd's only fought boxers, but Conor's not a boxer. He's a crazy man. And Floyd sucks at fighting southpaws. Stephen A. Smith said that on First Take this morning. And I'm just like, you guys are idiots. Don't bet money on Conor McGregor. You're just throwing it away. And they just wouldn't believe. I would get near fist fights with people watching this fight. It was crazy. I'd just be like, all right. Like, I don't know why you're getting so mad about this. Like, we'll watch the fight and we'll see what happens. And at the end, they just storm out and leave. I don't think it's to this degree, because I do think some people have common sense about what this actually is. But there are people out there who think Mike Tyson is just gonna go in there and rip this fool apart. And I keep telling everybody, Jake Paul doesn't do anything unless it has terrific upside. If there's one thing he's very good at, is picking the right fights and the right opponents that he knows he's going to beat, or at least do something that will get people talking. Jake has hit a home run pretty much every time. The one he may have whiffed on was like the one true fight he's had, which is with Tommy Fury, and he lost that fight. And it did well on pay-per-view and people cared, but not to the same degree here. And like, yeah, the Andre August fight and some of the other stuff that he did just to get some wins on his record. Sure. But for the most part, when we're talking about spending hard-earned dollars or a big blockbuster event, Jake has been terrific at all of this. So yeah, I don't know. People are kind of all over the map, and I have a feeling come Monday when I get back in the gym and this fight is over, maybe even Saturday morning, who knows? People will be like, okay, I watched it. It was what it was.
Yeah, I think we're going to get that for sure. I have now come back to the Mayweather McGregor of this because it is the only comparable event that I have in my experience, frankly. There is, for all the parts that you just mentioned, Mike, right? Like, there are, to me, a ton of people saying, oh, the MMA angles. Like, I remember that argument for Conor McGregor. I mean, like, that's ridiculous. So, like, oh, Mike Tyson, he's still got it. He's the most dangerous man in America or whatever. And it has genuinely shocked me. Like, the buy-in, the cultural buy-in of people, not just to see this for the spectacle, but that this, in fact, is a competitive matchup, which, newsflash, I don't particularly think it is, but we'll get to that in a little bit. It has been a jarring fight week. And Casey, I know this is a little outside of our normal order of operations, but you are boots on the ground. You are there, and I want to come in and get your what does the feeling on the ground feel like right now? Because like I said, I am a little taken aback by how popular this event seems like it is going to be, even though I knew it would be. Is that translating to being in Texas, being at these events?
It feels, especially outside of Vegas, this is by far the biggest fight card I've ever been at outside of Vegas, absolutely. And I think you're 100% correct. This is the closest thing I felt to Mayweather McGregor, in the sense that people are just so really oddly emotionally invested in Tyson right now, and it feels big. I mean, like the press conference, the open workouts, or at this big, I don't know, probably like a 4,000 or 5,000 seat venue. Man, it is done up big, and that Netflix and the Netflix attachment really is showing up. It's just, this feels big. This UFC used to do those big pay-per-view weekends where they have like 3 fights, and they have like pay-per-view on Saturday and then like a fight night on Sunday. The UFC feels like the fight night, and so this is the event, and it being free on Netflix, it's just promotional wise, freaking grand slam. Now, how the fight actually is, we'll see how people feel about it, because it could get really, But this is big. This is as big as advertised.
It is. I mean, yeah. When you talked about the emotional investment, Casey, that people seem to have, that has also struck me, is that there are a lot of people who I did not know were fight fans, and aren't fight fans, who have just been like, I really hope that Mike Tyson just kills this kid. And some of that is that they dislike Jake Paul, and he's doing his job as the heel. And I assume that a lot of it is also just Mike Tyson exists in a very interesting cultural space for us because of what he meant to people in the late 80s, early 90s, during the prime of his career, his kind of odd comeback renaissance in the last 15 years or so, where he became popular again. People sort of look past his many horrible flaws that are still existent. This whole fight week is so wild, man. It was just not at all what I was expecting. And Mike, that leads me to the other big topic to talk about with this fight. And it is, I'm not even going to ask, should this fight be happening? Because my thoughts on that are fairly known. I think you probably even would agree. It's going to happen. It is working out tremendously well for them. But what is the best outcome? What is Saturday? Like I said, I think this is as good as it could have gone up to this point. But what are the good outcomes? What are the bad outcomes for Saturday? How could this build into something that people remember forever? And like, what are we rooting for to take place, frankly, on Friday?
I think you and I are, like, if we're talking about rooting for something, I think you and I are rooting for the same thing. We are rooting for, like, a fight where both guys, more specifically Mike Tyson, comes out totally fine. It was a fun watch, and it's somewhat competitive to some degree, and all of those things. The best outcome, I think, for Netflix, for MVP, for Team Tyson, all of that, is that Mike Tyson goes out there and just annihilates Jake Paul. Like, that is the best case scenario for all involved, because the attention this fight has already gotten is probably better than they even could have expected. But if you go and see highlights of Mike Tyson knocking out Jake Paul, like on any network in the world, it'll be on everything from ESPN to ABC to Fox News, you name it, might even be on the public broadcasting network. It doesn't matter. That highlight, that clip, that story will be absolutely everywhere if Mike Tyson knocks out Jake Paul. Will it be in a lot of places if Jake Paul knocks out Mike Tyson? Sure, but it will be looked at more positively overall if Mike beats Jake, because one, nobody sees it coming. Two, everybody knows who Mike Tyson is. Like, literally everybody I know knows who Mike Tyson is. Not everybody I know knows who Jake Paul is. So that creates just a different kind of a wider net, so to speak, in terms of what this could all mean. And if Jake Paul knocks out Mike, it's just going to get met with sour reactions. You know what I mean? It's negative, because I guess my follow-up question to you, Jed, is if Mike knocks out Jake, like, that's just a massive moment. It's got to be memorable, iconic. We'll be talking about that forever. What does Jake gain from knocking out Mike Tyson? Seriously. Like, if he goes out there and wins this fight, if he knocks out Mike Tyson, what does he gain? Honestly, does he just turn full heel and say, and just accept the venom that is going to come his way? Because you and I have been kind of on the same boat with this. We hope that both guys kind of understand what this is, that they're just going to go in there. They're going to try some, but not go 100%. And Mike has done this before. He's been in exhibition fights. He knows how to give effort, but make it look like more and not try to hurt somebody. I don't know if Jake can do that. And we both have our questions and concerns about that. So if this turns into a fist fight, if Mike just cracks Jake with his hardest shot and Jake eats it and says, all right, MFer, we're going to go at it now, and Jake just knocks out Mike, like, what does he gain from this?
It's a really good question, Mike, because I have, in the past 24 hours, kind of, I think, just thought more deeply about this fight than I had, as a lot of, I'll just be honest, hand up, I've had a lot of priors and I was just sticking to them coming into this week. Okay, here's what I think. I'm just going to kind of keep going down this line. It is what it is. We'll get done with this. But as this has clearly become more significant, not more meaningful, but more significant, as more people are invested, more people have reached out, I have just sat down and thought about the totality of this fight more than I have, as opposed to just being like, shooting from the hip, here's what I think. And a lot of my initial thoughts they're still present, right? Like, I wrote a couple of times for the site this week that the best outcome for this fight is for it to just be a glorified sparring session. Nobody gets hurt. Everybody makes money. The egos are stroked in the appropriate ways, and we all move on, because this isn't a meaningful fight. The more I've sort of interrogated this, I have thought about, well, okay, clearly actually the best outcome is Mike Tyson does knock him out. Nobody would be upset if Mike Tyson knocked out Jake Paul. Many people would feel elated that this thing happened, that the late great Patrice O'Neal used to have a joke about Mike Tyson and being sad about what Mike Tyson had become late in his career, and saying all anybody really ever wanted was to see Mike do Mike things again, to get in the cage and just kill somebody again. That's all people wanted. And instead, that's just not where he's at. So if Mike did do that, everybody would love that. That's clearly the best outcome. Jake Paul could survive that anyway. At least his brand would. Whether he physically could, I guess we're going to find out. I thought that Jake Paul had nothing to gain here. And I want to come to that at the end, because he does have a lot to lose in this fight. And I stand by this. I think if he goes out and knocks out Mike Tyson, it's a tough look, man. Like, it's just, you're not gaining a ton by knocking out a dude who's 30 years older than you. It is one of those things that is a bad look. But I think you hit the nail on the head in that this is Jake Paul full heel. This is him. If he does it, if this does not become a glorified sparring session, if this becomes a fist fight and he does knock out Mike Tyson, it's just him saying, yes, I am getting over. I'm getting over at the health and wellness of Mike Tyson, but I will be over as the most hated man in combat sports. And honestly, if he knocks out Mike Tyson with how beloved Tyson is, it might be that rare level of hatred where people will pay to see you, because people have made that argument. We talk about this fairly regularly. There's a difference between Joaquin Buckley heat and Floyd Mayweather heat. People will not like you and just not tune in to see you do shit. But if you can be the kind of the vitriol inspiring dude who people will pay to watch you, like they did with Floyd Mayweather for so long, that's a rarefied level. And maybe that is the ultimate end goal for Paul here. He goes and knocks him out and recognizes that I will get more people to pay attention to me by being the most hated man in this sport. And so I kind of think he does have stuff to gain by beating Mike Tyson, even if it's in this perverse backward way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because he's been saying in every interview he's done this week that he's going to knock Mike Tyson out and then he's going to call Canelo. Can he get Canelo? Will Canelo try to represent the heroes of boxing to try to fight Jake? Like, does him knocking out Jake Paul get Canelo to come out and do a sort of a weird freak show fight? Because let's be honest, Canelo is very good at boxing, and there are certain fights out there that people want to see Canelo in that Canelo doesn't seem all that interested in, playing a little John Jonesy, if you will. Could he get Canelo if he knocks out Mike Tyson? Is that possible?
I actually think it is. And that is, I think, the biggest shift I've had in the past couple of days as I've interrogated this more. Previously, I would have said that that's insane. And Canelo himself has pretty much broadly dismissed the idea of this fight. And maybe some of this is being caught up in the moment, freely willing to admit that might be part of this. But the knock on Canelo right now is that he is refusing to take the fights people want to see. He is in full-blown career management, making business decisions. And while meritocratically it would not be remotely in the neighborhood or the general idea of being the right thing to do, it would be easily the biggest business Canelo could do to be the hero. I will be the guy who defends boxing. You are not fighting old men anymore. You are fighting one of the best fighters in the world. There are levels to this game, Jake Paul. And Jake Paul go out, get got and make $1 billion, be on Netflix or whatever, and not redeem his reputation, because his reputation is, people will still recognize and understand how great Canelo has been for over a decade at this point. But sort of redeem the public perception that he's ducking these big fights. Yeah, he's still ducking the big fights, but if he does it to go give this young whippersnapper his comeuppance, I think people would have a lot more of an appetite for that in the space. And so despite all evidence that everything I have thought for well over a year, I am now put in this position where, honestly, this might actually just work out exactly like Jake Paul has planned. And it's freaking insane, Mike. It is insane that we are in this world.
And it would certainly fit the Jake Paul mold, because Canelo is 170 pounds at best. So yeah, it certainly fit. He would be outweighed by 30 pounds. And
there's no downside. What? There's no downside. No. If he loses to Canelo, he lost to one of the 5 pound for pound best fighters in the world. The fact that he could even maybe get in the ring with Canelo is such an unbelievable achievement that if you had told me this 3 years ago, I would have bet you any amount of dollars you wanted that it could not happen. It may still not. This is far from a foregone conclusion, but I think that is on the table because of the Tyson fight in a way that even a week ago I would have said is crazy. But everything about this week, the momentum that seems to be here, it feels like Jake Paul has really read the room in a way that I just super did not. And so credit to him, man. I've been giving him his props, not for, I don't like him personally, etc., but you cannot argue that the man is unbelievably good at managing his career. And I thought that this could have been a faux pas, a backward step, but I think he's coming out amazingly here. If Mike, it's a big if, he still does have to do the business on Friday. He has to beat Mike Tyson to make a Canelo thing happen. And based on kind of how I'm now picturing this, he probably needs to do it emphatically. And so we should just transition into the actual fight, the nuts and bolts of what's happening here. Much has been made of Mike Tyson this week, and frequent, the past few weeks. He is looking great. They're showing him doing his open workouts, et cetera, et cetera. People are legitimately buying into this hype job, frankly, of like, looks like he's still got it. So Mike, does Mike still have it? And how do you see this fight unfolding on Friday?
Does he still have it compared to the average 58-year-old? Yeah. Like if he fought another 58-year-old, probably pick him to win. I thought even though it was a quote unquote exhibition fight, I thought he beat Roy Jones Jr. Like if there are judges, he wins that fight, I think. I can't pick him. It'd be crazy to see it. It'd be absolutely nuts. 58, man, he's 58. And that really that's the biggest thing about this fight. Mike can still hit, man. Like you saw the open workout. Now it didn't blow the doors off, but it was way better than Evander Holyfield when he did his open workout for the Vitor Belfort fight. Way better. I still have questions and concerns about this whole thing, regardless of what Mike did. But at the same token, I was like, after I left that gym in Florida after Holyfield's open workout and immediately thought this fight should not happen. They should just not do this whole thing. They just shouldn't do it. And they went ahead and did it, and we all know how it went. I didn't necessarily feel that way after watching the open workout. I still don't like this, but I get it. And it's massive, and it's going to be a huge deal. And Mike's going to get a big bag of money. So good on him. And if he's also a grown man. He's not being held at gunpoint to do this. He's not being forced to do it. He wants to. So if this is what he wants to do, who are we to say anything? Having said that, I actually think that Jake understands what this is. And I do think Mike understands what this is. I think they're going to go in there and they're going to have a boxing match. I think Mike might hit him a couple times and Jake's going to be like, oh shit, he still hits pretty hard, even though I don't think he's hitting as hard as he can. And I think Jake's just going to kind of cruise to a decision. This is what I want to see. This is what I am hoping to see. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going Jake wins a decision. Tyson gets to the end, gets to the final bell. Everyone says, wow, this 58-year-old just went 8 rounds with this 27-year-old Jake Paul, who is youthful and athletic and powerful and all this. But 58-year-old Mike Tyson went in there, did the damn thing. He may not have won the fight, but he went in there and won in the court of public opinion. He won in our hearts. The dude got a moral victory. So that is what I'm hoping for. And if I put that out into existence, maybe it will help it come true. Paul by decision in a somewhat competitive fight, but one Paul wins like 6 rounds to 2, if that makes sense.
I feel honestly pretty similar to you do in this. I am still ultimately of the opinion that this fight should not be sanctioned and should not take place. I'm a little more comfortable than I was a week ago just because I don't think Mike Tyson looks good in training. I think he looks great for being almost 60, but I think he looks like he's almost 60. And so he does look, to your point, better than Holyfield. I think he could probably not suffer major long-term injuries or consequences here. And so ultimately okay. But I think the idea that Mike Tyson can knock out Jake Paul is pretty overstated. Mike Tyson, again, hits very hard for being 60 years old. He's 60 years old, man. Like at most, he's got like 5 good punches in him. And even those good punches, they ain't prime Tyson punches. Like Jake Paul been hit. Like Mike Tyson, I would guess almost assuredly does not hit as hard as Tyron Woodley does at this point in time. And Jake Paul got landed clean on by Woodley and survived it. I just don't really think Tyson has a viable way to win. And so I could always be wrong. It would be really, really funny if I was, certainly. People would love it, but I think Jake Paul is just going to be the fitter dude. This will be some combination of the Anderson Silva fight and the Roy Jones Jr. sparring match for Tyson, where Jake Paul just maybe has to, deal with a bit of pep from Mike early, but he can just throw volume over 8 rounds. The 14-ounce gloves should mute a lot of even more of Tyson's ability to finish this. How do I want to phrase this? Some concerning reports from Fight Week about some things in the Tyson side of things. So I just feel really confident in Jake Paul getting this done. Odds are very generous. Jake Paul, I haven't looked at them today, but last I saw was minus 210, minus 215. Tyson plus 180 on the comeback there. So if you, like me, believe Jake Paul is going to win, you can take a large position because I am doing that. Just a teaser for our watch party tomorrow. Mike, one other big thing about this fight, though, and kind of wanted to do this after we talked about the outcome, is what comes next. If tomorrow Jake Paul does what we anticipate and goes out and either wins or not, we've already kind of touched on the possibility of Canelo, but let's say he doesn't knock out Mike Tyson, and so he does just kind of win a decision, probably not enough to get the Canelo interest. Where are both these men going? Because Tyson has also made it sound like this might not be one and done for him. So what is the next, lay out the path after this event if we are right in our prediction?
I don't know. Maybe Mike has another exhibition fight in him, which is fine. Maybe we want to do some fun exhibition fights so he makes money. Cool. I'm not interested in seeing him go out there and professionally box anybody. I'm just not. This is enough. This is fine. But if he wants to get in there and spar a little bit with a few dudes, fine. I'm cool with that. For Jake, it's probably KSI, just so he could be done with this whole thing. Jake Paul KSI is the John Jones versus Stipe Miocic of influencer boxing. We just want it to happen and be done with it. And it'll be big and people will care about it. And then we can move on with our lives. These two just continue to call each other out on Twitter and social media and say a bunch of stuff about each other. There's this, there's that, there's the weight, whatever. Just get in there and fight and be done with it. So that's where I probably think this goes. And who knows? Maybe the Canelo fight is still there down the road, but I don't know. It's hard to say without actually knowing what's going to happen. And the more I talk about it, the more I can just say what I hope to see. But I truly don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know if Jake just going to go in there and nuke him, or I don't know if Tyson just gets in there and lands a big shot 3 minutes into the fight. I truly don't know what is going to happen. So it's really hard to answer this question.
Man, I was trying to set you up so you could be like, well, what Tyson could do is he could go fight John Jones, because that's the only kind of dude John Jones is trying to fight now. Is what if I just I won't fight Tom Aspinall, but I will do an MMA fight with Mike Tyson. Are you guys? And if you don't want to do that, I'll retire. I'll take my ball and go home. It's ridiculous. Sorry, I had to, chickens can't be goats, and I had to take that shot as was necessary. But Mike, I know that Tyson Paul, it's the big event of the weekend, of the month, frankly, of the year. This will be of the decade at this point. It sure feels like that. Not the best fight happening this weekend. That actually goes to the co-main event of the evening. It's the only other fight we will specifically talk about on this preview show, unless you guys have questions about other ones, because let's be honest, there's a 2-fight card. We're not particularly invested in anything else. And I have become increasingly excited about this co-main event, Mike, because it is the rematch. Katie Taylor taking on Amanda Serrano, a lightweight contest. It is 10 rounds, which I wanted to go double check because women's boxing is a little silly. It's a rematch of the 2022 fight, one of the greatest female boxing events of all time. Katie Taylor won a very narrow split decision in that contest, and they're running it back in the co-main event this evening. Or not this evening, on Friday evening. So Mike, let's talk about the co-main and kind of what is your interest level in this fight, and is it at all diminished by the main event sucking up all the air in the room? Because we talked about that on BTL this week. I have felt a little bit down on it just because I haven't thought about it as much because of the main event just taking all of the attention.
This fight is going to be like, this is an investment. This is an investment fight. You are putting this fight on this card as an investment for the future of these two ladies. And I think probably more specifically, Amanda Serrano. Amanda is, people know her. Her attachment to Jake Paul has certainly brought her to a new level, but she's also a terrific boxer and she's very, very good. Her personality isn't spectacular. And I'm not saying that in like a bad way. She's not what, like Jake Paul is a fight seller. He is a promoter as a fighter. Amanda's not really that. She lets her fighting do the talking. So it's very hard to kind of sell either of these two women as storyline potential, because outside of it being a rematch, these are just, they're not going to go and blow it away at a press conference or anything like that. They're going to go in there and fight, which is why I think this is great for this card. Now, the first fight did very well because, yeah, you know, when you got Eddie Hearn and you have Jake Paul sort of doing all these interviews and getting the fight over, it's a big deal. At the same token, now there are going to be more eyeballs on women's boxing tomorrow than there have ever been by a lot. By a lot. This is not even going to be close. And no matter how you feel about Jake and Mike, whether you like it or don't, more people are going to choose out of intrigue to push the OK button on your Roku TV remote just to see what the hell is going to happen with Jake and Mike. And before that, you're going to watch Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano beat the shit out of each other for 10 rounds. And it is going to be great. This fight is going to be just as good as the first one, I think. And the only thing that's going to be different about it is that a floppity jillion more people are actually going to watch it. And that's great for both of these women. So while it's not getting the fanfare, Paul and Tyson are going to get you in the restaurant. But when you have a little taste of what Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor are going to do in that boxing ring, you're going to be like, damn, it wasn't the main course that got me. It was the appetizer. It was the oysters that did it for me. This is the best thing about the restaurant. The prime rib was good, but it was the oysters that are going to get me going back. So I think that's what this fight is on this card. And I think it's going to go over very well. And by the time it's over, both women are going to get a whole bunch of new fanfare. More people are going to know who both of these women are. And whoever wins this fight is going to be over like Rover. And I think it'll set up beautifully for what I believe will be a trilogy fight, Jed. Little spoiler there.
That is a little bit of a spoiler there. I have come back with how popular this is. I think this being the co-main event is unbelievable opportunity for them. And frankly, more than probably any two people fighting this weekend. You could make other arguments, but they have the pressure on them because this will be such an enormous platform. And their first fight was amazing. The pressure is on for Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, not to just have a good, technical boxing fight. They need to come in and just go to war with each other, because the long-term gains of doing that, not just for them, but honestly for women's boxing, with the broad spectrum of people who are tuning in for this, you can do something incredibly significant with your opportunity in the co-main event. And so I think both of them probably understand that to some extent. And I think this fight is going to absolutely rock come tomorrow. I love your analogy. I think that is correct. This will be the side dish, the appetizer that really was the best thing about the meal. And hopefully the steak isn't overcooked, though it feels like it might be overcooked, frankly.
Yeah. Look, and then we get like weird boxing with Whindersson Nunes just boxing a dude who has like 24 pro boxing fights. And then we get
there's also a WBC title fight.
Yeah, we get a Mario Barrios and Abel Ramos, and kind of, if you know anything about these two guys, you kind of feel like you know how this is going to go, but at least it's something that adds a little bit of realness to it and
credibility,
legitimacy to the event, credibility, if you will. So yeah. And then Shadeja Green's going to fight somebody on the prelims to lead us right in. And if you watch a Shadeja Green fight, it is certainly something. Certainly something.
She's not that big a favorite. The Barrios is like a minus 8,000 favorite or something.
Yeah.
He is a significant favorite of Abel Ramos, and we know what's going to happen there, and that's okay. But Mike, before we get to the peeps, you teased it, and I think I know where you're going based on your previous answer. But give me the breakdown. What happens tomorrow night in the co-main event?
This is going to be like almost mirror image of the first fight. And what I mean by that is I thought Amanda Serrano won the first fight. I thought she won. I went back and rewatched it not that long ago. And I was like, maybe Amanda won. And then I watched it again and I felt like, okay, I think she did win. This time, I think it's going to be a little different. I think it's going to be a touch more competitive. And I feel like this could be a fight where I think people are going to think Katie won, but then Amanda's going to get the decision. So it's going to be almost reverse on how this all plays out. So super close fight. And I think if you're looking at this from like a betting perspective, because I think Serrano is like a plus 120, maybe plus 110. I think if you get her,
depends where you're going. It is a pick 'em in a lot of spots right now. Stone pick 'em.
Okay, so money is coming on Amanda Serrano very smartly.
Yeah, Katie Taylor was a very slight favorite earlier in the week. Money is evened out. Stone pick 'em in a lot of places.
Yeah, I think just I'll go with Serrano to win a very close decision because I do think she has more tools to win this fight, and activity matters, man. And she's fought a whole bunch. She hasn't fought like the greatest competition, but she's in there making moves and moving around and getting reps, and that's what you kind of need for a fight of this magnitude in a big stadium. So, yeah, give me Serrano to win a super close decision in a fight that is going to absolutely deliver.
Yeah, since their first fight, Serrano has 5 wins. Katie Taylor, a couple wins. Also the Chantel Cameron loss, and then the reclaiming of it. So Serrano's been a little busier. You know, some of those maybe spinning the wheels a bit, but I love the breakdown. I was going to pet Serrano if the price got bigger, and now I'm kind of regretting it as it's coming down to even. I think this is just a stone coin flip fight though. Like they are both going to come in. If they do come in and try and throw down a little more, just get a little more rough, rugged, and raw with it, I do think that favors Serrano, and just kind of a more of a war and a brawl would give her a little bit more of an edge, which would be nice, because I do think ultimately the mission statement for these women should be, first, be the most exciting fight of all time, and second, set up a trilogy, because the trilogy can then be its own thing. I mean, the rematch could have been its own thing. The first fight was, but with the juice you will get coming off of the Netflix thing, setting up a trilogy matchup for all the marbles should be the goal. And so maybe this is just wishful thinking, but I'm going to pick Amanda Serrano so we can get that trilogy, because that should be the fight all the fans want to see, frankly. So I am also going Amanda Serrano, nip tuck decision. She just edges it out. And then sometime next summer, we can do the damn thing one final time, and it will be awesome. So Casey, hop on in here. Hi, Casey. Hi. Look at you in your sleeves. Must be cold in Texas.
Yeah, but no, I'm in Dallas, so I'm repping Power Trip. So for all you thrash metal fans out there, you know what's up. And I got to take a photo by the Riley mural last night. So this isn't for everyone, but for you metalheads out there.
Living your best life. Well, Casey, do you have anything to add about Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, or the Taylor Serrano rematch? Or do we pop into the questions? I want to give you an opportunity to speak.
I hope the women's co-main event doesn't get forgotten about. That's all. I know. Depending on what happens in the main event, I just hope this isn't for nothing in a sense. That's all. I just hope people remember, because was McGregor Mayweather, was there like a legitimate co-main event? I think Gervonta Davis.
Wasn't Gervonta Davis on that card?
Yeah, I think it was Gervonta. I'm gonna look it up.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't this fight.
It was just an A-side type fight. Yeah, for what I remember. But
Gervonta Davis, Francisco Fonseca. who is a Nicaraguan dude who had lost a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that was the first time I
he's
saw
undefeated.
Gervonta Davis. Yeah, that was the first time I'd seen Gervonta fight, and I was like, "Oh, damn, this guy's real good." So it added.
Maybe it did work.
It added that.
Yeah. So yeah. That's I guess that's what I'm really hoping for. As far as like the card in general, I'm interested. I'm oddly interested in the influencer fight between the Brazilian. What's his name? I forgot his name.
Whindersson Nunes.
Yeah, he has almost 60 million Instagram followers. Insane. Like I had no idea who he was, and then I looked him up, and like every Brazilian fighter I trained with all follow him. No Americans, but every Brazilian. I had no idea who he was, but that's just.
I didn't know who he was until he fought like a couple years back, and then Guy was like, "Yeah, this dude is extremely popular," and then it was like, "Oh, he is extremely popular."
Extremely.
Whoever he was boxing, I don't remember.
Yeah.
What it was.
I'm just interested in more, not the actual match, but kind of just the publicity that comes from it. But overall, though, just kind of reiterate what I said at the beginning. This is big time. Like, is this peak influencer boxing? Can we get any bigger than this outside of having like Tom Cruise versus Brad Pitt or something? I don't even know.
No, that wouldn't even be influencer boxing. That would be a separate celebrity death match.
It's celebrity death. That's
this is
a little different. This is actual boxing. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The peak-ish would be, because it would feel more if they did the Elon Musk Zuckerberg fight. That feels influencery more than celebrity deathmatchy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is the platonic ideal of influencer boxing.
Yeah. So Cowboy Stadium, Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
I mean, I go just traveling around Dallas on like just giant billboards on sides of buildings. It's just, this is everywhere. I'm assuming
UFC hasn't gone to fucking Cowboy Stadium. Like, Jake Paul's going. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see it. I don't want to give any information away, but I heard the inside of the Cowboy Stadium, like the presentation, the walkouts is gonna be spectacular. So it just won't be the fight. It will expect the entire thing just to look amazing, WrestleMania-esque. So it's gonna be one hell of a spectacle. I'm actually really excited, and just hope it doesn't have a really bummer ending. But yeah.
I've even sold myself on the bummer ending now, so it's fine. Like I can cope with any outcome here, so it's okay as long as no one dies. Knock on wood. Really, really can't stress enough how much we want that to not happen.
I do want to talk about real quick because we didn't mention it. What did you think of the lackluster press conference? We didn't really talk about that. Did that influence? Did it mean anything to you?
Mike, what are your thoughts here? Because I don't have, honestly, that many about it. It is, I feel like Jake Paul press conferences just haven't been that interesting for a while now. It's interesting to see what tact he will take for various opponents of, am I going to be respectful, Paul? Am I not? But he's now just kind of recycling stuff. And I'm going to knock out Mike Tyson in the Thule bit where he like had an ear protector or whatever, just like a little try hard energy. But to me, this was the interest in this fight has nothing to do with their presser. Now it is honestly just the cultural momentum behind the fight that has me interested in it.
Like, honestly, if there's one fight that didn't even need a press conference, it's this one. It really didn't even need it. People are just going to watch it anyways. The press conference didn't get a single extra Netflix subscriber. It's just, I'm with you. It just is what it is. And you have like all the fighters up on the stage. And I thought the stage was kind of interesting. Just seeing everybody up there is like Hollywood Squares-esque with like, people are up, people are down. It was just, I don't know. It was just weird. It was just very, very strange. And my first thought after watching it was like, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud. I'm actually looking more forward to the UFC 309 press conference tonight, more than that one, because
that makes one of us.
It's just silly. There's something silly in the crowd that's going to happen. Like poor Andreas Hale's trying to ask questions, and you got goobers in the audience, like with a fake microphone.
I didn't understand what that was. I had no idea what that was.
It was so dumb. And then you had it like the last time Jake fought too, whereas like
that's every Jake Paul fight.
It's just so silly, man. But again, that's what we have to kind of like just live in that world, I guess.
I will say that I'm not certain. I think this is a boomer take by us because I agree. It's very silly. I think to me, it is very obvious that those things happen at Jake Paul events because Jake Paul is courting a different demographic than I exist in at this point in time. And is a younger generation who is more interested in that sort of clout chasing, like things that would honestly embarrass the just shit out of me to do, but that people are interested in and gravitate towards. And that feels a bit old of us to be like, it would just be cooler if Andreas Hale asked them questions, which again, firm agree. I think that's just part and parcel of all Jake Paul promotion stuff now. Cause it's who they are targeting. And they don't care about media. Like
so the
they care about their own media.
Same people. The UFC is targeting the same people, but they do it differently. Ish.
Yeah.
It's getting more like that.
They just bring them on staff at the UFC.
Casey, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just saying from what I could see, that random media guy. This wasn't something MVP wanted or was planning. It just kind of happened. And I think they were kind of caught off guard too a little bit by it. So I'm not gonna. I can't speak for anyone, but I'm just saying everyone was just kind of confused about that whole situation. So I don't know who that guy was, and yeah, that's all. What was their story? Like,
good for him.
Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah.
I liked Mike. I did like the one line from Mike where someone's asking him a question about what happens if he loses, and he's like, "Well, I'm not going to lose." And she's like, "Well, what if you do lose?" He's like, "I'm not going to lose." What did I just say?
Yeah,
I'm not going to lose. People, that was good. It was just short, simple, and people cheered for it.
Okay, Casey, let's pop into the fans. Let's answer some questions before we get on out of here. Y'all know the deal. Super chats get priority. I will go ahead and answer this question, Casey, because I've seen it 8 billion times in the chat. When does the event start? Tomorrow. You could avail yourself of the great Google machine as opposed to just spamming that message into this chat. Or you go to MMAfight.com, great website. We have a whole thing you click on that tells you when it starts. The event takes place on Friday. The prelims begin at 5:30. The main card will kick at 8. Walks for the main event, I am estimating here, will probably take place around 10:30 p.m., maybe 11, depending. So all of you asking that question, I hate you, and I would very much like you to understand how society works. We do not live in the dark ages. You are physically on the internet asking this question. Right. Just Google it. Now, other questions that a third grader couldn't answer.
This isn't
There's so many of them in the chat. There were so many. When does it start? When does it start? Does it start in an hour? When does it start?
Log into Netflix. It'll tell you.
Just log into Netflix too.
Open up any app and wait for a pop-up.
What you need.
Yeah.
It's literally everywhere. 8 p.m. is when the main card starts. That's when the watch party starts too. We got you.
It was wild.
This isn't a question, but I'm going to throw this comment up.
I think this fight is rigged. Casey, one, shout out to you. I genuinely thought you were going to put the first question being when does it start? And I was going to lose my shit at you. I think this fight is rigged is the comment for those listening after the fact on the Pod Network.
Why
I have seen a lot of this.
This is honestly what I've gotten more. People going, who do you think is going to win? I've gotten more, is it real? Why do you think that is? I've more than any other fight I can really recently remember. Like people going, hey, is this real? Is this a fix? Or is this a work? What?
I have a theory,
have you been hearing this a lot too?
I haven't heard is it? I've just heard it is fixed.
Okay,
this is rigged.
It's because Mike's 58 and no one else will sanction this anywhere. Maybe Florida would. Maybe Florida wouldn't. I don't know. But they went to Texas for a reason. And yeah, there you have it. Rigged? I don't know. I can absolutely assure you that if Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson, you bet your sweet ass that everybody is going to say this fight is rigged. Like non-boxing fans and people who just know who these two guys are that are watching it, the big takeaway from those people will be that this fight was fixed and it was fake. Want to know why? Because we have heard this with every Jake Paul fight, and we are going to hear more than ever with this one because it is going to be the most watched fight of all time.
It's because people are very stupid. Just broadly speaking, people are absolute morons. And it's because it's not just every Jake Paul fight. It is literally every major boxing match, every big one that even breaks through marginally to the broader populace. The outcome is rigged. When whoever it is, rigged. Oh, Usyk didn't beat Fury, rigged. It is always that is the refrain of the uninformed and the idiotic. And so it will 1,000,000,000% happen. Honestly, it will probably happen either way. It will absolutely happen if Tyson does pull off the upset and get the win. Because people can't, Jake wins. People just can't. I don't know. Like and this is broaching out into a broader topic that I don't really want to get into, but there are fairly recent studies showing that like 20 some odd % of the American public is functionally illiterate. And this doesn't mean that they can't read words. It means that they have really bad ability to interpret. And media literacy in general is incredibly down in this country and broadly. The ability to look at facts and then draw reasonable conclusions from them is just widely down. And that's it, because fights aren't fixed. I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen. I'm not saying that it historically didn't happen. I'm saying that there are very clear laws in them and that fight fixing is incredibly rare and never happens at the top level of the sport anymore. When it happens, it's not the dudes who are going to make tens of millions of dollars. It's the dudes who are going to make 2 and 2, and they can throw a fight on the undercard and make 30 grand by having their family bet on them. And when that does happen, it usually gets out and there's a shitstorm that follows, i.e., where the fuck is James Krause right now? This shit doesn't happen because it just doesn't happen, and people are insane and they always think it is the case. They cannot accept
legitimately it's a federal crime to fix a fight.
Yes.
It's a federal crime. Like you're federally effed if you do this. And there's a lot of other shit that happens too. It's not worth it, especially for these two guys.
Not at the high levels.
Not at the high level.
Early prelims. Keep an eye out.
You can never fight again. Jake Paul can never fight again if he gets caught in a fixed fight. Can never make the mountains of money he makes every time he fights. It does not happen. But I mean, shit, man. There are a not insignificant portion of people who think the earth is fucking flat. Like they're just morons, and there's no helping them because they don't want to know. It is not they just do not want to see beyond their priors. And so I agree with Mike. I think it happens anyway, but I think there's more of it because it's a 60-year-old dude fighting Jake Paul. It screams weird, and weird screams fake to them.
All right.
Sully35, Mike was not acting right during the conference. It seems like he has been told not to win this fight or he's scared. We've already addressed the not win the fight part. Did you guys take any notes of Mike's, I don't know, how Mike is appearing at the press conferences and the stuff, any of that? Do you think he is scared of Jake Paul, or do you think there is another explanation if you do think he was acting weird?
I think he kind of said it. He's like when Helwani asked one fighter to kind of give a Mike impression. Mike it was funny, but also kind of sad. Tyson said, Yeah, I wasn't on my meds when I said that. Which is kind of, I mean, I think that kind of like all those like crazy lines we think about Tyson, those were all like in the moment. These weren't like, they weren't at press conferences. This was like a not predetermined, but it was a planned press conference. It wasn't like after a fight or like in the ring when he's hitting pads or anything like a hard training session. This is kind of, people kind of forget that about Mike. He's when he's not on big, he's kind
Not
of
a one-liner.
yeah, he's kind of a, he's pretty quiet until he's loud. So if he gets a big knockout tomorrow, then we might get a crazy line. But who knows? But that's also, this is 50, how old is 58?
58.
Yeah, this is 58-year-old Mike. This isn't 25-year-old Mike. So
Yeah.
I didn't take anything from it. I think we wanted to see that, but yeah.
Yeah, he's been around big boxing spectacles before, but nothing like this. Like this is, like it's cool doing it in New York 3 months before a fight because you're at Fanatics Fest and there's 1 million people there and you're doing promotional stuff. It's also different when you're 48 hours away from the fight. You're 24 hours away from stepping on a scale, which you haven't done in 2 freaking decades. And it's, dude, like, yeah, he fought Roy Jones, but we knew what that, like, everyone knew what this was. So I guess like my biggest takeaway from it was maybe Mike doesn't know what this is. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe the pressure of it is like getting to him a little bit, that he has, just because he hasn't seen anything like this before. This different crowd and sharing the stage with all of these different fighters that some are like legit pros fighting for titles. Some fought for in the Kingpin influencer boxing tournament who have 65 million followers in Brazil. Like Mike doesn't know who Whindersson Nunes is, but yet he's sharing the stage with him. It's just a different experience for him.
Yeah, my great concern is that Mike Tyson does not understand what this is, and I think that he doesn't after this week. And so I think that there's a chance that an actual fight breaks out because Mike doesn't grasp what's happening here, or I guess arguably grasps it more than other people do. And so then he really tries to fight Jake Paul, and then Jake Paul has to really try to fight him back, and suddenly Mike Tyson's getting stretchered out of there. But yeah, I didn't take anything from his press conference stuff because Mike Tyson has never, to your point, Casey, he's never been a press conference guy.
Yeah.
And that was when he was young and had his mental faculties, not when he's 60 and has a lifetime of getting hit in the head and, apparently on medication and doing better with like the rest of his life, and credit to him. But yeah, it's just, he was never going to be a quote machine. And this is what it is.
All right. Thank you much. Just got a super chat came in real quick. I'm not sure what this is about.
Sleeto, unrelated, but Jed, is the climb still going? I mean, the climb is starting anew, Sleeto. Unfortunately, our dear friend Anatoly Malikin was defeated by Rug and ended version 2.0 of the climb. So version 3.0 started with Carlos Prates, and this weekend the climb will continue. Currently, we are betting the Taylor Serrano fight goes to decision is one leg of the climb, and John Jones winning outright is another leg of the climb. We may throw in Bo Nickel as like a half step because he's going to win too. But Anatoly Malikin, in a fight that I thought he won, but not a robbery, I just thought he should have won. He let us down in a major way. Rug kicked us tumbling down the mountain, sadly. But thanks for asking, Sleeto.
All right.
LazyBet, if this event is a success, what's the next combat sporting event hosted by Netflix? This is a really good question, LazyBet. Mike, we know the UFC deal is coming up, but that won't be till the end of next year. They are going to start their negotiations in January. I think many people, I certainly expect Netflix to potentially be a major player there because aren't they already hooked up with TKO and hosting WWE stuff there?
Yeah,
soon, if not now. But that, the UFC wouldn't be on Netflix until 2026 at this point in time. So assuming this does all they expect it to, and frankly, all we expect it to, what do you think is next up for Netflix on the combat sports agenda?
I mean, technically it's Monday Night Raw, but I'm sure we're going broader than that.
Yeah.
Whoever Jake fights next, I mean, if this is a success, Netflix and MVP will be partners in this adventure for a while. So I'm sure Netflix is quite happy with the results they're getting here, and they'll just find somebody else pretty big for Jake to fight on Netflix. I mean, it's probably Jake related. I don't know who the opponent would be, but it's probably Jake related. Maybe it's Canelo. I don't know.
I'd like to counter and say no, because what it will actually be, it will be the trilogy fight between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. That will be the next big Netflix combat sports event because they're going to steal the show. You know, it seems like nobody else is really going to fight for that fight in that way, but Netflix can be like, yeah, they already did good work. Let's do this again with them. Let's see how we can take this. So that will be my pick.
But do you think Netflix, like this, they're going to start gigantic and kind of go back to just big? Obviously, you know, more of a basketball size arena, not football arena. Do you think like it's not going to equal this, the next event?
Correct. I think that they will try to do events that do equal this, but I largely think Netflix is just wants to be in the live sporting game because every broadcaster does. Live sporting, like broadcast rights, are the golden goose, the cash cow for broadcasters. And so ultimately Netflix is going to want to get a piece of the NFL, et cetera, et cetera. But it has a foot in the door with combat sports. I think it will just kind of keep leveraging that.
Yeah, because as far as the major streamers, Netflix is the kind of the last one to get into live sports, right?
Yeah. They just started dabbling in the past year. They're the biggest streamer, but they are not, you know, they aren't a broadcaster. They are a streaming service. And so they are now trying to do that portion of this as well. And I think to great success. I think they're going to very much enjoy it. We started to see them do a little bit. They've done like the golf stuff, like the live special. They've done like live specialty golf matches with like Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods and doing that sort of stuff. They're starting to dip their toe into it. To me, the Tyson Paul thing was always the intro into the UFC. We want to host a live combat sports event. Obviously, we want it to be as big as possible. This is it. But we want to start working this out. We want to show that we can do this, what we can offer. And so then when the UFC media rights come up, they can be a major player. I really, really think Netflix will be the home for the UFC in 2026, and that this is just sort of the start of it.
Okay. Thank you much.
Thank you, Lazy. It's a good question. Beastman. Mike, Mustache, and Jed, theoretical question, but if Tyson Fury stepped in to fight Jake Paul after this, what would you think and how would you see that going now? Tyson Fury?
Yeah.
Did you mean Tommy Fury?
No, you might mean Tyson Fury.
If you mean Tyson Fury, it would go very, very poorly for Jake Paul.
Oh, my God.
Extremely poorly for him.
It'd be a massacre.
Jake Paul would never fight Tyson Fury. Like, that would be like fighting Tyson Fury is the exact opposite of everything Jake Paul has ever done. He would be fighting a man who is much bigger than him.
Much bigger.
And in his maybe he's not in his prime, but he's pretty close to his prime if he's not in it.
Yeah.
And Tyson Fury would absolutely kill him. The only reason he would is if Tyson would be like, I will not hurt you. I will beat you soundly, but I will drag you through 10 rounds of fighting without ending your life. It would go unbelievably poorly for him.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh.
So we are clear. If Mike Tyson were to fight Tyson Fury, if that fight was booked, Tyson Fury would be a minus 40,000 favorite. And there are people in the comments arguing just hammer and tong that Mike Tyson is going to kill Jake Paul. It would go so poorly for Jake Paul if he fought Tyson Fury.
So bad.
What a time to be alive.
Trevone Logan. People hate him so much, Canelo will do it, and he won't be able to say no to the money Netflix will offer him. I mean, honestly, like Trevone, it's kind of my point. I think he would do it, especially if Jake knocks out Mike Tyson. If he does it, and then there's a narrative to sell for the fight outside of just cash grab, I think it is possible. Maybe not probable, but certainly possible.
If the UFC's got to do a spectacular like September event again, I don't know if it's gonna be Noche or they do it somewhere else. Wouldn't that be a hell of a counter shot to do Jake Paul versus Canelo that weekend to counter program the UFC? Be pretty ballsy move, and one that I would
should just
have
not
tremendous
hold an
respect
event.
for.
If that fight gets booked, the UFC should just be like, we're not holding an event anymore. We're moving back. We're out. So, yeah.
That would be so interesting. That would be so interesting if Netflix counter programs, Jake Paul and Netflix counter programs that pay-per-view. That would be extremely interesting.
If Netflix doesn't sign the UFC, they might just be like, all right, let's go. So, yeah.
I think that might be would that be the first time that there's like legitimate, like UFC fans might actually, go jump the other way?
I guess this one doesn't count because it's not on the same day. But like, surely there's some other thing.
This also wasn't the original date.
There have been other boxing, it wasn't the original date. So
is there a football game on Sunday? Do you know?
There are always football games on Sunday.
Actually,
I think it is in Dallas. Hold on, because I remember looking this up.
That's why I assumed
earlier.
This is on
like
Friday,
they have to turn it around
because it's such a big stadium. Because I'm assuming this would be on Saturday.
Texans are at the Cowboys, but it's Monday. It's not Sunday.
But either way, I think it's such a big stadium. It takes 2 days to flip the whole stadium. So that's why this is on Saturday. I mean, that's why it's on Friday, not Saturday.
Friday instead of Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if the NFL schedule was different and Cowboys were out of town, I'm pretty sure this would have been on a Saturday, and then we would have had it. But here we are.
Yeah. Tough scenes for Jorge Masvidal and Game Bread Bare Knuckle because their card's tomorrow as well. And
dude, I entirely forgot that was happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are they hosting a card? Why would you do that?
There's a Masvidal card?
I don't know.
There's a Game Break card
tomorrow.
Yeah, you should just not do that.
And it's good. It's a good lineup. It's a good card. There's a lot of recognizable names on it, but it's just the wrong day.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Good for the fighters. Get a paycheck.
Yeah, good for them. 3 people are going to see that, even if it is free on YouTube.
One more from Beastman.
Beastman makes me wonder if Jake actually does want to be seen as a legit boxer because he's an intelligent guy and he knows this won't really give him credit as a boxer. He knows it's a show that makes money. Beastman, Jake Paul does not give 2 shits about being seen as a legitimate boxer. It is simply not part of the calculus. I don't know Jake Paul. I feel extremely confident in saying that if that is a piece of what he wants, it is so far down the list of things that matter to him. Jake Paul, and this may sound critical. It is not. This is merely a statement of what I believe to be fact. Jake Paul is motivated by attention and money, and primarily the attention part of it is insofar as it drives money. Being a legit boxer does not. It is part of a narrative being sold. Truly couldn't give a shit less. Because if he did, he would just go do that. But he doesn't because he'd rather make money.
He did.
Which I don't blame him. I would do that as well.
People said, go be a legit boxer. We'll have respect for you. And he said, okay, I'll go be a legit boxer and do what legit boxers do. And I'll fight guys with relative experience as I have, and I'll kill them. And he did. And nobody cared. No one cared.
There you
at
go.
all. And Jake realized that.
Yep.
I was at Jake Paul versus Andre August. I was there. It was at a hotel in Orlando. It was at a hotel ballroom where the next day they probably had a wedding from some congressman in Florida. Like, that's where the fight took place. There's like 1,000 people in there. And it was cool. I actually liked the experience of like a smaller type deal. And Jake did everything he typically would do. He has the robot and he has the fancy entrance and Logan Paul's with him and like all of the pomp and circumstances he would normally have, but no one cared. And he realized that after he did the fight in the, what was it, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the one where Serrano couldn't fight. Yeah. He killed that guy. And then they booked Mike Tyson like 3 days later. He gets it.
That real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Make that bag, son.
Just to kind of pivot from this question a bit, what does that say about Jake Paul as far as a prize fighter's name? Because it seems like the B side does matter for Jake Paul. Like when I think, like if you put, like, I'm trying to compare, like say Conor McGregor. You put Conor McGregor versus anybody of a name, I feel like it's a big deal. But Jake Paul, you still have to have a B side for him. Am I making sense? Is that?
You are. I'm not entirely sure that's accurate though.
I might be missing the point, but
it is to some extent. But like, if you have Conor McGregor fight, who's the last dude Jake Paul fought before Perry? Let me pull that up so I'm not butchering this guy's name or whatever. Ryan Borland. If Conor McGregor boxed Ryan Borland, it would be, I think, marginally more viewed than Jake Paul boxing him. And maybe now, just because Conor hasn't fought in 4 years or whatever, people would tune in because it's Conor's first fight back. But if you just like took Conor fighting some total nobody, it will draw interest, but it will not draw that level of interest. You still need a foil. You need somebody who can play opposite to you unless you are at the peak of your powers. Now, there's absolutely a time period where Conor versus a broomstick would have sold 1 million pay-per-view buys. I'm less certain that that is true now. And Jake's just not to that level because that's a impossible level to achieve. It's very, very difficult, but people still clicked on the stories about him killing some boxer or whatever. It still drew some interest. It's just not the same because everybody needs a dance partner that is worthy of them.
And Gamebred had a card that night too. That was the Junior Dos
Santos. We really got to talk to Jorge
fight.
About what he's doing. I don't know if Jorge owns a calendar, but maybe like get one and put when other people are doing things on your calendar, so you know when not to do stuff.
Yeah, he needs the link.
Remember when they booked the Masvidal Diaz boxing match the same day as UFC 301?
Yes, and Nate was like, "This is very stupid," and Jorge was like, "It's not stupid, it's smart." And then a week later, he was like, "Okay, Nate might have been right. We're moving.
We're moving it," and it was smart. That was smart. Yeah.
Okay, and just because we are a MMA channel, we got a couple MMA questions real quick.
God, I know it's coming, and I'm not ready for it.
No, I haven't. Richard
Luciano, who was the third most notorious ducker from the UFC behind John and Connor? I mean, it's Jermaine Durand to me.
Oh,
like for sure, she's probably above Connor. Honestly,
she's definitely above Connor. I don't think Connor's not really a ducker.
Yeah.
Well, he leaves divisions, like he never in that sense.
That is a different way to put. Connor makes a lot of business decisions in that regard. So you are right there, Casey. But Jermaine Durand to me flat out refused to fight Chris Cyborg despite being the champion of the weight class, to the extent that she said, "I will leave and just go to bantamweight. I'm not fighting her." And they took her belt from her for it. It is the most blatant showing of ducking that I've ever seen in the sport. Frankly, up to this, John Jones has taken the title. Assuming it's not all an elaborate troll job, I'll give the same caveat. But John Jones is number one now, and it is astonishing to see him do this.
Pound for pound duck, impressive.
But then GDR. Connor's not. I don't think Connor's definitely not 2. I'm not sure Connor's in the top 5.
I get what you're saying.
He fought the people. He just didn't stick around to defend belts.
Yeah.
Super chat from RJ. I know how much you guys love Nicholas Dalby Brazilian killer gimmick. Sure is. I got you something even better. Kyle Braulio is 4-0 against fighters born in the former USSR. Keep that in mind for the Hamzat fight. Okay. I respect this. I didn't know that. I'm not. That's not a fight that's happening, is it?
No.
No, not anytime soon.
I was say maybe I missed it. Like sometimes, like is that going? But okay.
Yeah.
But RJ, I'll file that away for the next time. Kaio's facing whoever it ends up being that
When
is
Hamzat
from
becomes
former USSR.
Hamzat becomes the number 2 ducker when he ducks Kyle Baraglio.
That's right. Can't be ducking Kyle Baraglio. Fighting nerds, baby. Let's go.
And our last question and our last super chat is very important before we get out of here.
Lazy bed. Still unclear when the fight starts. God help us.
Oh, man.
Guys, go to MMAfighting.com. It's a really good website. And right there on the main page, there is a little thing that says Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight card start time. It gives you the whole fight card, gives you when the estimated start times for the various things are, tells you where it's happening, everything you need to know. It's right there at MMAfighting.com. Great website.
Yep.
Boom. Thank God. I'm so glad we didn't get derailed by John Jones talk.
No. We have tomorrow for that. I knew that.
I'm not on tomorrow, so that's terrific.
Oh.
I'll be on the watch party and we can talk about it.
Someone
This
else is
week
coming
has
on.
been unbelievable from John Jones. Just the most transparent shit I've ever seen. It's treacherous. But you know what's not treacherous, guys? We're almost here. Tomorrow, we're at Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. It's going to be a watch party. Also tomorrow, before that happens, Mike Heck doing a preview show. Mike, do you want to tell the people who the guest is going to be?
The GOAT.
The GOAT!
And I'll leave it at that.
Esther
The
Lynn?
GOAT.
Oh my God.
Esther Lynn's
The
on the
GOAT.
preview show for UFC 309 tomorrow?
Our GOAT. Our GOAT. Yes. The horn says it all, baby. A man who has shared the cage, or shall I say, the ring, with one John Jones. Maybe the next PFL fighter? I don't know. We'll see.
Man, he should.
Find out
Don't go
tomorrow.
to the PFL because I'll tell you what, John will fight you now. He's made it very clear that he is not interested in fighting people who might beat him. I'm looking for super fights with the guy I beat once before. Until then, keep it locked in MMAfighting.com for all your coverage this weekend. Love y'all.